Please rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We take roll, Mayor?
Murray?
Here.
Getzinger?
Here.
Swayacki here, Perrick?
Yep. We have, first on the business is going to be approval of our June 3rd special meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the June 3rd minutes as presented.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then our regular June 9th regular meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of June 9th as presented.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that's to be now a record. Does that amend the agenda?
I know Sarah had asked about meeting dates. Do we need to add garbage contract? It's not on here under unfinished business. I mean, do we need to add that to schedule a meeting?
The only reason I wanted to add that is because there has been a lot of discussion throughout the town. And we did have the one workshop meeting, and I'd like to schedule another one
Yeah.
so we could go more in depth.
I understand that. I'm asking, do we need to have that as an agenda item to schedule a meeting date?
I don't-
If so, I'd like
We
to
could
add
put
that
it
to
under
the
correspondence and
agenda.
information.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
necessarily
that's
think
fine.
we have to make an action
Okay.
item on it, for a workshop.
And I have no comment.
Under
I'll
correspondence.
make a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Agenda work from. Bills?
I did have a question. We did get another bill from Spalding to Decker. I know that it was pertaining to Blake's. I know that as a board, we did vote about traffic study stuff. What is that invoice regarding?
That was the last Zoom meeting that we didn't get billed for.
Well, the dates, it was from May, so there was another Zoom meeting?
I don't know how many
Since,
we
I
had.
mean, the board has voted a few months ago as far as not supporting paying for a traffic study, so I just wanted to make sure that, I wanted to know what they actually meant, what the discussion was about, if it was an appropriate, I guess, meeting to have, or what you guys were.
That was about traffic study.
So at what meeting did we vote, did we discuss the township paying a portion of any traffic
That
study?
was, well, we had the meeting, and then we had the other meeting to not pay for it. But we didn't get billed for Zoom until now.
For the time they spent on putting the quote together.
Okay.
That's what Spalding charges for, was to tell us what
Yep.
a study entailed.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something after that,
No.
because I do get there's expense there.
How much was that?
It's $800 in addition to.
Any more questions on the bills? I'll make a motion to approve the previously paid bills for the fire, $7,807.84, general, $16,207.56, payroll fire, $63,033.50, general, $15,897.59, current open invoices fire, $13,198.19, general, $17,151.23, trust and agency paid, $780, current open, $220, for a total of $134,295.91.
I'll support.
Murray?
Yes.
Getzinger?
Yes.
Perrick?
Yep.
Swayacki, yes.
Bills are paid. Public comments?
Oh, I will have one. I did submit my app for trustee just tonight with Mary, because the way that the last Murray was appointed to treasurer, we didn't wait for that, so you guys have already set precedent. So I would like my application to be considered. Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Please, Jesse, come up.
Jesse Canal, 78670 Coon Creek Road. I was just reading through the packet today, and this American Rescue Plan Act, I don't know, it said $399,000 that Armada Township would be getting
Right.
potentially?
We
Qualified
have to-
for, yes.
Right.
Okay,
John and I are working on the
Okay.
paperwork and everything to file for that and to find out what qualifies us to spend the money. I know broadband's in there.
yeah.
It's pretty vague, but yeah,
Yeah,
we're,
it looked pretty vague in
Yeah.
general, but I was just saying, I just wanted to say that because the fire department, the staff on the fire department were most affected by the COVID, because they were in direct contact with COVID-19 patients, that I think that money should be a high priority towards the people on the fire department. I don't know how it's
Well,
stipulated.
right now, what it basically is we have a Zoom meeting tomorrow, about putting this whole thing together, and you apply for it, you don't have to allocate it. So it doesn't come out till 23. So right now, we just have to make sure that we qualify for that money, and then we can use it on pretty much whatever the board chooses to move in. But right now, it's just a matter of getting our foot in the door and saying, yes, we'd like to sign up for that.
Right.
And I do think
Okay.
there's still a lot of information lacking as far as what does qualify.
They have a whole bunch more tomorrow, which is why we're going to the Zoom meeting to find
Okay.
out
Yeah, there
more.
was a list of first responders and everything.
Oh, yeah.
And especially since a lot of them got COVID because they were in direct contact with COVID patients
Mhm.
and stuff. So, I think that should be, first on the priority of whatever needs to be done to help the fire department since they were in direct line of fire, so,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. thank
We
you.
got good ones too. Thank you, Jesse. Are there any other, please?
Ron and Marcy Noteboom, 72541 Old Farm Trail. We have what we believe is a marijuana grow operation that's starting in our neighborhood right now. It's alarming for us to see some of the traffic that we're getting coming through our sub at all hours of the night. It's alarming to have a neighbor where there's no real permanent residence there. And as an offshoot of this, we've educated ourselves a bit on, the Michigan medical marijuana laws and what they could legally grow within a residential setting. And as it turns out, it's a lot more than I would have thought. It's 72 plants that they can have, plus 12 personal. So a total of 84 plants that can be inside of a residence. Further research that I've been doing is suggesting that many of our neighboring townships are putting ordinances in place to try to control this in one shape or another. You have one extreme, which is Lennox Township, which is basically opening their arms to it and saying, bring it in, we embrace it, we want it.
They're open, I think, to dispensaries.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
And then you have townships like Bruce, who are, I think June 16th, they passed some new ordinances saying that you must have it within a residential setting on more than 5 acres, or a commercial or an industrial setting. So they're limiting the 72 plants under the MMMA, and not really doing much with the 12 plants on the personal use side. You have townships like Shelby and Macomb who are saying you cannot have the 72 plants under the MMMA in a residential setting at all. It must be in commercial or industrial settings. And then further limiting the size of the operation, even for the 12 plants, to things like amperage for the electrical service panels, for the designated square footage in the house. And Macomb Township has similar language. You have Ray Township, who has a proposed amendment on the books right now that just says none in residential settings, must be in industrial settings only. So I
Now,
guess
you're talking about medical marijuana, correct?
Yes, yeah, that's
Because
right.
medical marijuana is regulated by state law.
If you look around at what our neighboring townships are doing, I think there's something that we can do to further refine that.
Yeah,
Or
we-
at least try to limit it. That would be the suggestion that I see when I look around at neighboring ordinances. So to me, what I see is by doing nothing, we are doing something. If this is what we want in our township, then sitting back and not doing what our peer groups are doing will probably bring it in. And having sat and seen this in our neighborhood, it's quite alarming to see what's happening. I would highly doubt that any resident in this township would want to see what we're seeing right now. And I just would like to open up a dialogue with the board that maybe this is something we ought to be looking at sooner rather than later.
And as a board member, I would say that I agree that it does concern me, you know, residential areas, and I would support looking into the ordinances for surrounding communities to see what options we have to ensure that our residents are safe and we're not exposing those properties unnecessarily so to extra traffic and
See,
that type of thing.
the catch-22 is, one, you have to prove that they're running an illegal operation at some point, because you don't,
I know enforcement's gonna be the tough part,
you
yeah.
can't walk into the house, and we're trying, with our building permits, electrical permits, things like that, to gain access to it, but we can't. I was told, matter of fact, we have a trooper here tonight, but when we had a home looked into on Coon Creek, the gentleman had 72 plants, and he had his caregiver's cards in place, but they were expired. So the state police took 60 of the plants, and they couldn't take his 12 because he had his card with him. And then he got his cards, or his permit, or whatever it is, updated, and they simply told me he can have them in the house, and he can grow them legally, and he doesn't even have to live there.
Well, potentially, if Armada Township were to decide in a residential area, we want no more than 12, well then, certainly it wouldn't be checking for a marijuana,
But the
medical
state law-
marijuana card. It
The
would be-
state law is the 72 plants plus.
Yeah, but I'd be interested to see what Shelby and Macomb, if they've passed ordinances, assuming they're legal
Well, we've
and
already passed,
enforceable,
we passed a moratorium on
commercial.
commercial grow and dispensaries and the like, so the medical situation with it is completely different.
So who,
And the house that I had to challenge on 33 Mile Road, we did it through accessory buildings, because they had too many accessory structures on the property. I knew damn well he was selling to kids from high school, because I knew the kids, and they told me. But I could only shut them down for an accessory building, not for growing marijuana.
who, is that through planning, or is that through the attorney that we would ask about, potential ordinances or the legality of those ordinances? Who?
The attorney would tell you that it would be challenged.
So-
And then again, it goes back to which house is growing it and what are they growing it for? I was told by the trooper that handled our particular situation that,
Again,
we want to help, but we only have so many assets. And we're worried about warehouses in Detroit where they're jumping power off the poles and growing warehouses full of this stuff. And so, we can help you out, and we can give you a little bit of guidance on what we're doing here on Coon Creek today, but fact of the matter is, they don't really have the assets to patrol all that stuff, they just don't have the manpower.
Again, I'm certainly not an expert on this, but if the township had an ordinance in place saying recreational only in residential areas, potentially there could be some enforcement through ordinance violations, right? Versus the
We still
state
need the
police.
police to enforce that.
So, in Bruce Township, they require all medical marijuana operations to be registered with the township, and by registering with the township, you agree to periodic inspections.
Do we know they're growing pot in the house?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Okay,
We strongly
again,
suspect
it's
it.
like, that's one of the toughest things to do.
Sure.
I can't assume, I just can't, I didn't see them take it.
Yeah, but since you guys have been there, there's been nobody in and out of the house. So for 3 weeks, we haven't had anybody there, but the weeks leading up to that are all the hours of the night, young men, 20 to 25, coming and going, music blaring, in a little tiny street where we have little kids. I mean, I don't want to raise my kids in a town like this. I moved to Armada for a reason. I mean, if there are things that we can do now, even if it's not these people, what if we're saving somebody that's gonna start one in the subdivision across from the fairgrounds? If we're a little sub, they're on 1 acre, we can look in their garage and watch them unload the lumber. And the only reason, we are a tight community there. We don't like it for our kids, and I don't think anybody else would. If you wanna go out and buy 20 acres and grow out there, by all means, but not in a subdivision with a bunch of little kids.
So I guess, what I'm suggesting is, I understand the concerns of enforcement. I understand exactly what you guys are talking about there. But I think if our neighboring communities have ordinances that are limiting it, I think when these people are selecting the houses, they know who's gonna give them static and who's not, or where they're going to run into challenges and where they're not. And by not having ordinances similar to our peer communities, we're essentially being a target.
I agree
Putting
with that.
ourselves on the map. Yeah.
I mean, I'd certainly gonna find those ordinances, and I'd be interested in talking with the
I've
attorney.
done a bit of research. I have a lot more to do, but I'd certainly be willing to share that with the entire board. And I will continue to do this.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Are there any other public comments?
Jesse Kyle, 72550 Old Farm Trail. Just piggybacking what Ron just talked about.
How do you spell your last name?
KYLE. I know it's just a concern for us and our families, and I know there's nothing you can do about it right this moment. But going forward, I think we really need to start looking into enforcing it, whether codes or anything we can do to prevent this from getting out of control. And that's the biggest thing is, I know there's gonna be codes in place and it's monitored by the state and, 12 plants per person, per card holder, but it can be limited. And I think we need to really focus on trying to make sure we put our arms around this pretty quick before it gets out of hand.
And understand, the frustration that I get into is that, when somebody does a medical grow, the township has no, is given no oversight. I don't know how many plants they have and what kind of weight's coming off of them and how they're shipping it out of the house, and it's, one of the most bizarre things the state could have done, because it's just, there is no oversight on our part. If there's oversight on the state's part, the state can't even oversee Social Security, and unemployment. Well, how are they gonna oversee, these legal, if you will, medical grow houses? But proving that it's a legal medical grow house and proving that it's over its limit or it's doing something illegal is what you need to do.
Right.
And that's like, are you kidding me?
Well, no, it appears that some communities are saying you can't do medical grow in certain locations within the township. So you don't have to prove if they're a legal medical grow or not, potentially, if you're able to, if the township were to adopt an ordinance preventing that, so.
Right. And that's what I'm asking you guys to really look into. And, cause your mind can wander, can we prove that they're growing marijuana right now? No. But where does that lead 3 months from now, 6 months from now? Harvest time. Quick cash, quick grab, coming down our street in the middle of the night with who knows who to get who knows what. And those are the thoughts that can go through your mind, especially when you have little kids.
Man,
Like Ron and
it was
Marcy
all
said.
explained to me, most of the stuff that they try to grow locally goes to Ohio because it's still illegal down there.
Mhm.
So we've become a supply chain for the, if you will, illegal trade in Ohio. And it just, that goes back to the same thing they did in Mexico. If you have demand and you have supply, you have a problem. But to oversee it or to tell, we're gonna have problems with the state, that's the biggest thing. I don't know what house has it. I mean, there's several that are suspected for saying,
Mhm.
I have to be able to prove it,
Right.
that they're doing something illegal, not just growing medical marijuana.
And I understand that,
So,
but
I mean-
if it's something that can be explored and, like I said, get our arms around it before it gets out of control, because it seems to be a routine or a pattern where this was starting in Detroit or, in the metro area, and it's starting to
Oh, look at
gradually get
yourself,
up.
it's all over here.
Yeah, well, it's up
It's
north
all
of
over.
69 too, I
It's
agree.
all over here.
But-
Make no mistake about it, it is not just Armada Township.
True, but I know it's been growing out, and it's becoming more of a hot topic. If you talk to people, I work in areas like Dearborn, Livonia, Canton, and a lot of different communities, and it seems like, people are pushing out a little bit further because you stay under the radar out here.
Well, we don't have the assets a lot of people do. When we asked to have police up here, it costs $575,000-$600,000 a year for one sheriff 24/7. So until people want to put police on the back roads and stuff like that where they can do policing, that would change things greatly, but we don't have that. We're at the whim of the sheriff when he can make it up, and the state police really has their back most all the time. So, but again, it goes back to, can you come out and check on a grow operation for me? when it hits the priority list, I don't see them for 3 days, because they got accidents and all kinds of stuff going on, so, it's very frustrating. It's very frustrating.
I bet.
I understand, once upon a time, but I don't support the growing and using of marijuana, I don't. And then maybe if there's a medical need, then you give it to Pfizer or Johnson & Johnson, and you make the people that make the medications use it and make it, not somebody in there. But even this new recreational thing, boy, they've got some facilities set up, and some people are running some really straightforward, high-dollar operations, and it's making good money for some of these townships. I mean, good money, like to the tune of the 38, 40, 50 grand a year, and that's a small operation. So that's why people like Lennox are, I heard they took in $250,000 just in application. And the bottom line is, they don't even have enough electricity over there to put 4 of those things together. And we do have a residential code in our building code that says it only gets one service. So you're gonna get 200 amps per house, and you can't come in and say, well, I gotta plug in my electric car, and it's a 15 amp service. It's not like you need another 200 amps to charge your electric car. So you have to be aware of those things, but we have one service per resident now to keep that from happening. And that's actually in the building code already.
It says 200 amp max in the building code, right?
Yep.
Perfect.
Well, that's my piece. I just wanted
I
to
appreciate
make you aware of
that.
that, and, I moved out to Armada almost 20 years ago for a reason,
Mhm.
and I respect that you wanna keep the community rural, and to a certain extent, I'd like to see it that way as well.
Appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other public comments? Correspondence and information. Again, the American Rescue Plan Act, something Mary was working on. Myself and Robin are helping. And tomorrow, there's a webinar that's gonna walk us through the whole procedure on how to fill this thing out and get it turned in. We fully expect to have our application turned in this week, early next week. So, and I think it's at noon tomorrow, so we'll be checking in around 11:55, 11:50.
And I've been
What is that?
in contact with Daniel too, so once we find out what we can
The
do
auditor?
with the funds,
Yeah.
then we'll meet with him.
When is the application, actually, what is the deadline?
They want it by
27th?
27th.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And again, it's just to make sure that you're making the request. It's not, I'm gonna put up a flagpole, or I'm gonna give it to the
Right.
fire department or anything. It's just get your application in and get in line. So, it's what they call unrestricted funds.
Yes.
We don't have to have a shovel-ready project right now. Waste hauler,
Actually, the workshop.
Yep, just
Oh,
waste
wait,
all.
okay.
waste hauler workshop, yeah.
Date.
Okay, the reason I asked is, again, because we started the discussions from the survey that was done a few years ago, and more people are asking about it, and in the last week or so, it's become another hot topic. And we were supposed to set a meeting last
Yeah.
month, and we kind of,
Postponed it, yeah.
so if we could do something either in August or September, I mean, the sooner we get our ducks in a row and know what we're gonna do going forward, how we want the RFP to look and everything like that, the sooner we can get it out there and get back in time to possibly have.
Yeah, so the last time we met, I know I did prepare kind of my opinion of a draft proposal, and then the intent was to talk further on that and figure out how exactly to get quotes, because I believe at least some on the board felt we should send out another survey, I guess, with more information to residents. Is that?
Well, we could do a survey and I'd like to do this more at a workshop meeting, but,
I just want to update so that people know kind of where
right.
we're at with it.
I think we need to see what we need to do about getting quotes. I would like to see quotes for the whole township and the village, and then
Yeah,
if
so
the village wants to do it, then we already have pricing for them.
I did reach out to the village, and the village being a separate municipality, they do need to approve,
Well, obviously, and that's why
So the village, they did send an email saying they have 3 members of their board, I believe, they're all members of their board that would like to participate when we do schedule that
Yeah,
meeting.
and that's fine. Because my intent wasn't to go to the village until we had some pricing information, because how can they make any
would
determination without any cost,
I'd
just like
ask-
our residents
I'd
can?
ask them about, like yard waste, for example, they said at least they believe they 100% would want yard waste. So I think those are the type of comments they want to be part of before quotes are received. So they
And,
make
and
the-
that's fine, but yeah, I'd like to just, set another
You have a
meeting.
waste hauler that picks up yard waste?
Yeah, they'd like that as an option for the village residents to have yard waste as well.
Right, I mean, we can do anything we want on an RFP.
Yeah,
And we would, we can limit it, or we can, have it encompass the moon if we wanted, but it's something that the more things we add to it, obviously the more cost it's gonna, be, but I think we need to move these discussions forward so that if we do decide whether we do it alone as a township or whether the village wants in or whatever, we can get this knocked out and put into
Yeah,
place.
because we only have a 1 year with GFL.
Right.
So- And they've really been doing a wonderful job.
They have been. So I guess if we want to schedule a workshop for
of
August,
course, I only looked at my calendar up till the next meeting. I assume we're gonna try to fit one in before our next board meeting. So I do have a few dates available, end of this month, beginning of next month, if we're interested in holding a meeting before our August board meeting.
I'm gone the second half of August. I'll be here for the August board meeting.
Yeah,
and I
so
can do the first half.
August 3rd or August 5th, that's a Tuesday and a Thursday, the first week.
That
of
would
August.
work for me. Does that work for you?
Okay. Would you
Um,
prefer a Tuesday over a Thursday? Is there any,
Makes some difference to me.
August 3rd?
August 3rd?
August 3rd?
Yeah, let's do that then.
Okay. And then,
That's 7 PM, I assume?
right, 7, we can do that here like we did last time, and I can reach out to the village and
Yeah.
invite.
I do
them.
have all their contact info, so I'll either forward you that email, or when Mary sends out gets like an agenda or whatever together, we could forward it to them, but we'll give them a heads up when the meeting is.
Yeah. Okay, that works. Thank you, everyone.
Fire department, chief?
Evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the month of June, we responded to 82 EMS calls, 11 fire, totaling 93 calls. The average response time for EMS was 5 minutes, 34 seconds. Fire was 2 minutes, 13 seconds. I just want to briefly kind of speak to what they were talking about, the medical marijuana issues and whatnot. And I can say that I do know at the Macomb County Fire Chiefs Association, they're working very aggressively to identify these houses. A big thing from our side, it's a safety issue, because most of these places have high voltage, high amperage, and water, and that doesn't get along. So we are working with DTE to kind of find a way to identify these houses and then make them at least, from that side, follow laws and at least know. It's kind of the end-around way of finding out where these places are. So we are working aggressively at the County Chiefs Association level, as well as State Fire Marshal, to come up with ways to identify these houses.
Very good. It is good.
So, the other thing is the fire department remodeling project. We had put a little addition into the station. It's going very well. We're probably about a week away from being done, but I want to make a point. We went to get bids for granite countertops in the station. I went to a place I've done a lot of business with over the years, and I kind of beat them up and I said, golly gee, we like a good price, and they installed their granite countertops for free, exceeding $2,000. It was Hard Rock Stoneworks. Did an amazing job, and he said we have a lot of workers that live in the community. He himself just moved his parents out, and it just was a very gracious thing they did for us, and that was Hard Rock.
They're
Hard
great
That was
Rock
awfully nice.
We were really
Yeah.
grateful. It was great.
They're really good people.
Now, do we owe them a receipt, a donation receipt?
I did sent a letter. The other thing we're doing is the fire department's doing a golf outing fundraiser for their 503C, and I am personally paying for a sign for them to be a whole sponsor. It just was awesome when they did.
All right, well, if they need a receipt, I'm sure the township can get them something.
Yeah, I did actually sign off on it with them, so.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Chief.
$77,955 K-Pac Road, outside storage, building materials, shipping containers. We do have a meeting set up for July 25th, 2021, to see where we are at that point. We are taking a waste hauler with us to get a quote on what it would take to remove the unkept items from the property. 71-276, the fence was built outside the zoning ordinance. He did cut it to height. He has to remove every other slat because it needs to be see-through. He hasn't done that, so we sent him a 30-day letter to fix that up. And then the other thing we did, this was the house where we had a caregiver that had a paperwork issue and had some plants removed. So we've asked for him to provide updated paperwork for his operation. Whether I get it or not, I don't know, but we sent him a letter and asked for it. 22982 McFall, work's being done on the floodplain. They said that they had a permit from Eagle. Eagle was supposed to look into it. We got a hold of Andy Hart. Andy Hart's turned it over to Pat, and I haven't heard back from them to this point. I have been down to that. This is the flood issue that's been going on in the township for some time.
So there's new work going on out there?
Yeah. Yeah, but he's putting in a farm pond, and soil and erosion had no issues with it, and I haven't heard back from DEQ, but soil and erosion said no harm, no foul. So, and Laura had somebody go out there, an inspector go out there. But I have been there during these rain events, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't seen the river run that well since we moved in there in '90. Usually it used to go back up to almost into Esper's basement,
Esper's, right.
you know, it doesn't even come out of the riverbanks anymore, so for whatever reason, what they did down, I know that the farm bridge was fixed and some debris removed, and I know that log jam, which was an act of God situation, was removed, and that just seems to have made a world of difference in the flow of the water there. However, everybody downriver's canoeing across the road in their front yards down here now because the water's coming down that fast.
We were
So-
jet skiing on 94 a couple weeks ago,
Oh,
so
it's-
yeah.
it was funny. I was watching some kids canoe around over here in Armada Center Road. I said, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me."
So as far as that K-Pac property, I know we talked before the meeting, but you did reach out to multiple companies. You're only able to get one that was interested in
That'll
being part of that
physically-
meeting?
That'll physically go and do a site inspection and cool.
Okay, and then our attorney will be there as well? Okay.
Yep, and our, his attorney, Mr. Kubar's attorney, and Drew will be there as well.
Okay.
Our planning commission was canceled for,
Yeah, there was nothing on the agenda.
going back PDR, I'm hearing some good news, huh?
Yes, the applicant in Richmond Township accepted the offer so far from the State Ag Fund Board. So we're just in the paperwork process of providing the information, getting the papers drawn up. And like anything else, dealing with the state, things drag out. So we gotta have everything in set and that presented, I think in middle of August. But it could be September, November, or even next year because of doing all the title search, background checks, and T's and I's being dotted and crossed.
The good news is the government seems to be throwing a lot of money off the top of the building, so.
Well, this ain't coming from that fund. This is a self-sufficient one, and it's a lengthy process to try to explain,
Okay.
but it's just gonna take some time, we gotta make sure we do it right, and as soon as we know when things are coming down, and for sure gonna be for closed in and signing that, we'd be sending a letter and contacting the other townships, along with Armada, being used were so kind to pledge $500 towards this to say, closing date is here, the title company is so-and-so, and see about getting that check. But thank you very much for your support and patience, and hopefully, when word gets out more of what this is, it's another opportunity for property owners and those who retire and that, and got an estate to settle on that. Possibly easier for one of the kids to take over the operation, or a new one from a different township or community being squeezed out, saying, I might be able to use this to locate here in Armada Township and work something out. So it's just another tool in the toolbox of purchasing property and moving forward and trying to keep some egg business here in Armada Township.
Great.
Is there any question?
Oh, thank you.
Our building department for the month of June, we issued permits for 1 garage, 4 additions miscellaneous, 1 home, 1 commercial, 1 pool, 10 electrical permits, 5 mechanical, and 1 plumbing, for a total of 24 permits. There were 43 building inspections done.
I think on the back is the part.
Yep.
for-
We have a June 2021 park report. Scoreboards completed on 6/22/21 and were used for Anarchy tournament. Very thankful to all involved, very impressed with the final product. June water test results submitted on 6/29/21 and passed. Jake's to maintain the restrooms on Friday or on demand, depending on weekend activities. June 22nd, chloride treatment was applied to the parking lot. One softball tournament, 2 baseball tournaments, working on quotes and ideas for upgrades for the 2021 budget. Again, on his top of the list is auto door locks, 10 additional picnic tables, and replace the park entrance with concrete. They'd like to put in a hard surface where people are pulling out on the road because they spin their tires and dig holes when they try to pop into traffic there. Excuse me. Thank you, Gary. Nothing on water and sewer. Nothing on Macomb Orchard Trail, although everybody should know that we do pay $5,000 a year in maintenance fees and $2,000 a year for our membership in the Macomb Orchard Trail Committee. I don't have a senior center report,
I didn't get anything from Donna, no.
so they are and have been opened.
Yes.
I talked to Donna about getting that incident report to me. Somebody fell in the parking lot the other
Yep, I
day.
talked to her today.
Okay, so we need all that stuff. Treasurer's report?
Okay, well, I can honestly say this past month has been interesting. Needless to say, all accounts reconciled. And also, although nobody truly likes to get their property tax bills, those all got out on time also. There was a lot for me to learn in this position. A new to me accounting software, the plethora of title and escrow companies sending out all the data that needed to be sent in order to fulfill the legal requirement of those ever popular property tax bills. I'm still in the process of gaining access to the other investment accounts that the township has, but the most important thing that needed to be done was done. I also plan on having a more informative treasurer's report in the future. This month had more important things that needed to be done in a timely manner, however. I do have to thank Mary for her invaluable help to me and helping me learn and understand the software system. Our assessor was also a huge help. He explained a lot of what he does and how it impacts what the treasurer's role is. Dawn and Christine have been a huge help, and of course, the technical support from BS&A has been wonderful. So, moving forward.
So what, as far as a deputy? how's that?
It's coming along. I have leads on that, and I'll be doing some more exploring over the next week or two. I wanted to learn the entire position and all of the programs before I could ask somebody for help.
What's the time frame legally before she, because you need a deputy, how
Right.
long?
Well, we've had treasurers that didn't have deputies for years,
So-
Okay,
but that's not her plan.
as far as could you give an update on maybe the audit that we've done or the recovery effort for Mr. Supervisor? Would that be you?
The audit,
Not, I
No, the
mean,
recovery
the
for
forensic, I don't know what you call it, forensic audit. right?
Forensic audit. We have received information back from Access Discovery. Access Discovery is right now currently working with IT Right on evaluating what data can or can't be taken off the server. So within the next week or so, we should have a full picture of what happened and how things happened or whatnot. Mary, you received a copy of the information we got from
Right.
Access Discovery, and right now that's being worked on between Bob, Brandon Bannon, and myself.
So-
Until we get more.
So we have received some documents as far as emails that were deleted and maybe some paperwork, is that what some files I should say?
Yeah, without saying much, a lot of the things we can find the headers for, but the documents are gone. So that's what they're looking for, is to try to find the documents. So,
Okay, and then as far as cost to date, I mean, we did a $5,000
Well, I
retainer,
asked
do you
him
know
the other
where
day,
we're at?
yep, I asked him the other day, and he said he didn't seem to think that he was outside of that budget at all yet, so.
Thank you.
But he'll provide a full, if you will, evaluation, at the end, with timelines and everything. I mean, right now, we've got a lot of that, but it's not complete, so. Anything?
No, that's it, thank you.
Right. Internet Subcommittee.
We have not had another meeting, however, as most of you know, crews have been out and about all over the place. I have tried to get updated maps because it seems like we're seeing Comcast sightings in places that we weren't expecting them. Comcast gave me the same map they used for the application process, so I don't know if they're playing the cards close to the chest, or I don't know what's going on, but there have been a lot of sightings. I believe that most of the overhead lines are in, if not, they're close. Once the overhead lines crew goes through, then the underground crew comes through. So you'll be seeing, if you're one of the lucky chosen, you'll be seeing mistake flags in your yard for the underground, if underground is needed at your location. And they just said things are going a lot better than they had expected. Yeah, Jesse?
I received a letter in the mail from Xfinity Comcast, and they gave us a number to call if we're interested. So I called it, and they said, okay, and they said, oh, you're on Coon Creek. So they didn't have, I just gave them my birth number, address, and I said, oh, Coon Creek, and they said, yes. And they said, well, someone will be calling you within 3 days, and they just called me yesterday and said, your home is flagged, so you'll be getting people on your property, I just need permission. So a letter was sent out.
Okay. Because I know that people have talked to some of the crew, they've been home when the crew was there or something, so it is moving along. They've, like I said, they were moving a lot quicker than they had expected. I mean, the grant, timing of the grant goes all the way until fall of 2023. I honestly don't see that they're gonna need that much time, and I don't think from the
Right.
sounds of talking to the crew that they don't think they're gonna need that much time, but it could be coming soon. So, and hopefully, like, our goal is still to get the whole township covered. So whether it's able to be covered through this grant or not, as I mentioned, last month, we did apply for another grant, and we are gonna keep moving and exploring all options until the township is covered, one way or another, whether if you want to tap into whatever is out there, that's on you, but we want the availability to be there for everybody who wants it.
And I know it's very preliminary, but that funding, that infrastructure bill that we were talking about earlier in the meeting, it
That's
has some
what broadband-
potential to be used for
Yeah,
that.
that could be used too, but we did already apply for one other grant, besides this Comcast one that's currently in the works now. We applied through a,
Debbie Stabenow.
Debbie Stabenow's office, an 2022 Appropriations Act grant.
It was like a $4 million grant, something like that.
Mhm.
I'll make a motion to file and receive reports.
Support. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Fee schedule resolution.
The fee schedule, we haven't updated our fees since like 2014, so I got with the planner, the engineer, and the planning department and the fire department.
And because we did change our planner, their prices changed,
Yes,
so.
all those prices have changed. So the only thing we have to do is adopt the fee schedule. Does anybody have any questions on? No? I'll make a motion to adopt the Armada Township fee schedule by resolution number 2020-106 as presented and to publish accordingly.
Support?
Murray?
Yes.
Swack, yes. Patrick?
Yep.
Getzner?
Yes.
Thank you.
Subcommittee for the Animal Control Ordinance.
Yeah, I didn't have any documentation on that item.
Well, it's more, from the long and short of it, what I understand is if the township was to enact the animal control ordinances of the county, something to that effect is found in Armada, that Armada becomes the prosecuting body.
So what is it currently? Right now, what are we doing?
Well, right now, we have the county ordinances for animal control, and if they find an ordinance, starving horses or whatever, they, go and take the horses and take them to wherever they're gonna be fed or kept or whatever, and they do the prosecution to the prosecutor's office.
Okay,
And
and
their
so who
problem
facilitates?
is, they don't have enough people, and they want us to take it over.
So the county contacted the township and is asking us to?
Well, actually,
take it
animal
over?
control contacted us, at, the behest, I think, of the prosecutor.
So are we required to change our policy and take responsibility, or?
I think that's where the subcommittee comes in, is we need to
Okay.
sit down and look at what it is, because the county's animal control ordinances are,
Very strict.
not only that, they cover daycare, doggy daycares, they cover pet shops, they cover all kinds of things, so.
So your concern is we may wanna write our own ordinance?
We already
Or
have
get-
one,
is-
we already
We have
have one,
one,
but it's
yeah.
not to their liking, I guess, they want it more strict. We're gonna have a Zoom meeting, with Chief Randazzo and Christine, I don't know, Christine
It's on the
Anderson.
23rd,
On the 23rd, I believe.
yeah.
So that's why we're gonna put a committee together, whoever wants to be on it, to further understand what the county wants from us. We don't have to abide by everything that they have, like I said, it's very, very strict, and we do have our ordinance already, but they don't have enough people to go do the complaints, and they want us to take care of the code enforcement. That's what it sounds like to me, and take the litigation, go forward.
Well, and again, it's not so much that they don't have the people that can handle the animals, it's the case after that. I mean, he said something about a farm with 39 animals in Armada Township, and I don't know for the life of me what he's talking about.
No.
So that was maybe a year or two ago, but apparently they had a farm that needed to be cleaned out, and
So forgive me, but why do we have an ordinance now if we're relying on the county's ordinance?
They want us to update it.
They want us to update
more
our
to-
ordinance.
Not that we have to do this, but they want more discussion.
they'd like us to just rubber
Because-
stamp the county's.
And then say that we're gonna enforce it? I don't know.
Yeah, we'd have to. They'd be our ordinances.
I gotcha. And if nobody else interested, certainly I'll make myself available if you need.
You want to be on the committee? I'll make a
Sure.
motion to appoint Supervisor Patrick and Trustee Getzinger to the committee.
I'll support.
Getzinger?
Yes.
Swack, yes. Murray?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yep.
And I can get you a copy of their ordinance, Jim, and ours, so you can
Please.
compare.
Yeah.
Because theirs is very in-depth.
Land division.
The land division ordinance, it was brought to my attention by, actually, the assessor. Our land ordinance, the one that we have right now is a 4-to-1 split, and in our zoning ordinance, it says 5-to-1. So Tom says it needs to match. So I contacted Christine Anderson, and she made the appropriate change, the appropriate amendment that we need for that to take place. And that's what,
The recommendation was to go 5-to-1, which is less restrictive.
5-to-1 is less
So
restrictive.
they're both gonna say,
They both say 5 to
you know,
1.
5-to-1.
one with 5 depth.
Right,
Yep.
right. So I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2021-27A, an amendment to the land division ordinance regulations, number 2015-18 as presented.
I'll support that, but I'd also like to add, that in order for this not to come to the board, there has to be a change to the,
Yes, a change it to the zoning ordinance
To the
itself.
zoning ordinance
And
itself.
I've contacted
And the
Laura.
the zoning ordinance is gonna go through planning,
Right,
because we have to have a public hearing on that.
right.
So there was a motion and support.
Marie?
Yes.
Swack, yes. Getzinger?
Sorry, forgive me, but
No, that's fine.
before your comment, there's a second item attached to here from Christine Anderson regarding it a land division coming to the board. Is that a separate item? There's this email
That is the
that I-
land, that is
That's
the land
this.
division ordinance. That's what
Yeah,
this is.
so But this makes reference to coming to the board.
It
Are you
doesn't go
saying
to
in
the
future-
ZBA.
It has to come to the board,
Yeah.
and it has to keep coming to the
Yeah.
board until we get the zoning ordinance changed that says it goes to the ZBA. Because right now, the zoning ordinance says it goes to the board, not to the ZBA. And you can't
Gotcha.
do that without a public hearing and a change of the zoning.
And so, yeah, okay. Just want,
Gethier?
oh, sorry, yes.
Peter?
Thank you. Dahlia's mulch for the pocket park.
Yep, I contacted Bob Delia. I think the pocket park needs, some mulch this year. We haven't done it, I don't think, in a couple of years.
We haven't done it, we didn't do it last year, but we usually
No.
get it cleaned up every year.
Usually before the fair. So Bob gave me a quote for the cedar mulch installation, edging, at no charge, and also to weed the beds and remove any debris. And the quote was $14.50.
You know what I'd like the board to consider, because it really keeps it up. Bob also power washes and seals
Yes.
the bricks. Can we have that added to this?
I don't think he charged us anything last time. I will ask him.
Yeah, because it really does keep that brick pattern.
I think it was only like
cement.
$75 last time, but I'll contact him on that.
Did he say about how many yards of mulch he expected to use?
Uh,
As far as this quote?
$1,375 worth. I don't know how many yards that is.
It's hard to judge.
I don't know how much mulch is. $28 a yard. I mean,
Yeah,
it could
30
vary. You
bucks. I don't know how many
Well,
yards
plus
he's.
they gotta install it, rake it out and all that,
Yeah.
so.
have to go pick it up and, yeah.
It was generally $1,200 or so when he was
Around
doing
that.
it before, so.
Marie?
Yes.
Getzinger?
Yes.
Swack, yes. Patrick?
Yep. VSNA training. There was a request to do some training. There's a lot of things I think that even our internal crew that we've had, can touch up on and get a little bit better at. The proposal that was provided by VSNA was $2,910, and that is for up to 15 attendees. So I know there's other people that are going to attend the meeting,
Right.
so,
And
the
I-
training.
I will make that motion to approve the 3 days of training for general ledger, cash receipting, and tax program in the amount of $29.10 is presented from BSNA software for paid employees, and to move $1,410 from line item 101-000-960-013 sewer engineering permits to 101-101-861 education and training.
Support.
What employees will be going?
Getzinger?
Yes.
Swack, yes. Murray?
Yes.
Patrick?
Yep.
What employees will be going?
We have,
Obviously, you're attending, right, Sarah?
Yeah.
our
Actually,
generator, yeah, oh yeah.
Actually, Chief wanted to join in too, so any of our paid employees.
Yeah, I
can
would
join.
encourage to, as many, as there's a value for, to get.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken, the chief will be taking the training as well.
Yes.
Does the village use BSNA?
Yes.
Chief, fire generator?
Bringing in front of you today is a request to replace the EMS building generator. As you remember, 2 years ago, we had the same issue with the fire side. The generator I believe, was about 15 years old. Life expectancy on that brand was 10 to 15 years old. We had several people look at it and request it be replaced. Well, when the June 26th storm came through, we lost power to the EMS building, and we had emergency repair came out, and it's going to exceed $4,000 to repair it. And they adamantly suggested it's not worth putting the money into, because it's going to be ongoing from that point on. So they strongly suggested replacing it. When we did, 2 years ago, we got the generator, we did a lot of research, and the board actually requested that we get the better of the products that were out there, which was a Cummings. The life expectancy on those are known to be 30 years. All the other ones are 10 to 15 to 20 years. While it is a little more money, it is definitely a better product. When doing some research to get a price on it, last year, you can recall that we joined Sourcewell, which is a national consortium. It's tens of thousands of groups that come together that get bid pricing Fortunately, Cummings is one of those, so we were able to do a consortium price, which does fulfill the obligation of the purchase policy of the township. So it checks the box, it's a consortium price. So we bring in front of you today is a request to purchase this. We're doing it in 2 phases because there's quite a bit of a lead time on the order, as much as 22 weeks to get the generator. We are really working with Cummings to get this much earlier, but what we're requesting today is just for the purchase of the generator and the transfer switch. At a later date, which is probably next month, we're going to request to get for the installation costs. Estimates on that is around $8,000 for installation. We're going to do some of the work, such as the concrete work, site prep, and then the company's going to be doing the rest of it.
So what do you do in the meantime?
In the meantime, we're actually trying to work on that. We're trying to see if we can get we have a portable generator that's 5,000 kilowatts, 5 kilowatts. And we're trying to see if there's a way we can legally do a temporary fix. So the biggest thing we need for that building is the doors broken down. Yeah, we can pull the thing and lift it up, but we want, in case of emergency, make sure we get the furnace working, and make sure we get the doors up and we're working. We do have a generator now to see if we can get a temporary fix, like maybe a transfer switch, just like a lockout on the panel. So if we do have a situation, we can run this temporary one. But we are really urging.
I'm sure there's a
Cummings.
transfer switch now, right?
Yeah, they have lockout now, ones that are so nice. It goes right into the panel, you throw the main, you slide it up, and you flip the generator on. And it's a much quicker way to do it for a temporary fix. And it would be done with the licensed contractor.
What's the, again, what was the lead time on that?
They're saying 22 weeks as of yesterday.
Yeah.
But that's if you're anybody, and I'm really working with Cummings to push this, that we're not, this is an emergency operation.
Well,
So we are requesting to purchase it. It is through Sourcewell Consortium. The price on for the generator and the transfer switch was $15,100. Requested to purchase it out of the capital outlay line.
Mary, go ahead.
Yep, I'll make that motion to approve the purchase of a generator from Cummins based on the attached bid in the amount of $15,100 through Sourcewell Consortium from capital outlay, line item 206-336-970-000.
I'll support.
Murray?
Yes.
Sweig, yes. Getzinger?
Yes.
Pitter?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Chief. Chief Supervisor, Deputy Supervisor's line item. I'd like to ask the board again for a $3,000 budget, my Deputy Supervisor's line item. No support?
Yeah, I will support that.
Okay, is there any discussion?
Has anything changed since budget times?
I think so. She'll be coming in and take the training. She's doing most all my code enforcement typing and letters and things like that, keeping track of my, if you will, the information, the timelines and stuff like that with this access discovery. So she's putting in some hours that I'd like her paid for.
I was just gonna say, I know the supervisors pushed for this, last couple budgets, and, I have seen some emails from your deputy, but, you reference code enforcement. I know we had a code enforcement officer, we kind of changed directions there, so it's not typically a responsibility of the deputy supervisor. I've just struggled to, at this time, justify expense of the deputy, given the time that I think the supervisor has available, so.
Murray?
Yes.
Eric?
Yep.
Getzinger?
No.
Sweig, no. And the reason that I voted no is due to the fact that we're still in litigation with the deputy supervisor and Supervisor Patrick, and I believe this would be a huge conflict of interest.
Trustee interviews.
So are all the applicants here,
I believe so.
Looks like to me, 5. Do you want to take an open interview per se, because we're gonna have to do something with Sarah being out of town, we won't be able to call a meeting
Yes, we have to
together.
appoint someone, before the 25th of July. That's 45 days out.
Yeah.
So whoever we appoint, we can, if we appoint someone, have them start effective tomorrow or Monday, whatever date we choose.
So if we're able to get a majority, we may appoint somebody tonight, as early as tonight,
Yes.
you're saying?
Yes,
But
no
understand that
later.
if we don't appoint somebody, it'll end up going to a special election.
special election, right.
Well, yeah, but we have the opportunity potentially to, if we
Sure.
need more time, to have a special meeting
Yes.
before the deadline, but if not by then, certainly a special election.
Well, actually, Sarah will be gone. She's leaving tomorrow. She'll be gone for 2 weeks.
Oh,
So it's
gotcha.
better if the four of us are here, and maybe we try and settle this tonight. Gail, did you want to go first?
Sure.
Yep, step up and tell us why you'd like to be Armada Township trustee.
Well, it honestly wasn't something I was thinking about until events of the last month or so. Left the seat open and, I've been in this community a long time. I've served on the board before, and it's a passion of mine to see that the township is in good hands and being handled in appropriate ways. And so I thought, why not? I'll throw my hat in the ring and see what you think, and maybe I can help. That's it. That's all.
Any questions for Gail, anyone?
Any questions? I think most of you know
I-
me,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, you were on the board for 4 years?
I was,
2000, 2004?
That's correct.
And you're current,
ZBA chair.
I'm the chair of the
Zoning-
ZBA. I've
yeah,
been in that
zoning board of
position
appeals
for quite a
chair.
while, yeah.
Yep. That's it?
Thank you.
Nobody has anything else? Happy to answer.
Thank you, Gail.
Thanks, Gail.
Thanks, Gail.
Jason Grimby.
What's that?
I'm just calling him
Oh, okay.
the way they're in my folder here. Did I say your name right?
Hi, Jason Grebby,
Okay.
71201 Coon Creek, and just moved to Armada, actually, within the last 2 months. Come from Shelby Township. I work for GM as an engineer, cybersecurity, and thank you for the internet. GM's work appropriately. I now have the ability to work remote permanently, and it's the new work for home culture has got me looking around, thinking, geez, Armada looks like a great city. And I was speaking to Sarah offline, and she's the one that said, hey, we might be looking for a trustee, because as a new person to the city or to the township, just looking to do my part and contribute and give back. Listening to the people and the residents today, I know it's a tough job, but with my engineering, cybersecurity skills, believe me, I do a lot of research, a lot of troubleshooting, a lot of meetings. General Motors is actually called General Meetings for the GM. So I know how to run effective meetings and listen to people and troubleshoot and research problems. So it's just what I do, and I think Armada is a great place, and I'm just looking to do my part to keep it going.
It's exciting. The question about that cybersecurity, we're going through a situation now where our technologies doesn't seem to be
For sure.
where it needs to be.
A lot of the infrastructure that was built was not built with security in mind. So there's a lot of attack surfaces that are exposed that we don't even think of or know of yet. So it's my job for any company that I work for, but especially if you look at a product such as a vehicle, you have over 5 different interfaces from Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cellular, and then now Bluetooth high and low, they're calling it. So there's a lot of different attack surfaces that you have to look into. And I think that's the first type of reaction you have to know is know what your assets are and what kind of exposure you have. And that's townships and cities are doing that across all of their infrastructure. Somebody mentioned DTE right now. DTE's infrastructure was created with no security in mind. And you're hearing a lot of ransomware attacks and different types of manufacturing attacks, and that's a big exposure rate is their appliances and their generators.
Yeah, plus they just had that ransomware
In Village.
in Romeo Village.
Romeo.
I'm under the impression they might have even sent them some money.
The U.S. government and Michigan governor as well, our reaction is to pay, just pay, because we can't fight it. And until we can update our infrastructure and put some defensive countermeasures on, we just pay the ransom. whether it's in Bitcoin or
Yeah,
US dollar.
right, right.
So
Yeah.
what brought you to Armada, other than being able to work from home and not have to?
Blake's Beer. I'm sitting at Blake's, I'm like, oh, this is a great place, and this is, but in reality, you know, you just visit the village, you talk to the people. I have some family here in Armada, so I've been coming up here to visit them, and it's just a wonderful place. I bought the old trout farm of Armada.
Used to be called EBGBs.
Heebie-jeebies?
EBGBs.
I found an old flyer called the Fishing Hole in some of the archives. It's a terrific property. It's a heritage to the city. I have a lot of old timers saying how they grew up there, how they fished there, how they camped there, and I enjoy that type of camaraderie. And I'm looking to expand and maybe open it up and give it back to the city in some way, and I'm exploring different opportunities.
That's great. Yeah, I remember going there. His wife named it that after she started cleaning fish. They gave her the EBGBs.
So that place where she cleaned the fish, that is what made me buy that property, because that is the new outbuilding that's my home office now. So
Oh,
I'm
is
going
it?
through some upgrades right now and putting Wi-Fi in, building up my infrastructure.
They used to have a restaurant, pool for restaurant trout in there.
The pools are still there.
Is it?
All I gotta do is fill them up.
That's
Swimming
great.
holes open.
Welcome. Thank you very much for your interest. I
Yeah.
appreciate that, Jason.
Well, thank you. Look forward to working with you.
Monica Jo.
And I am applying because I am attending every meeting. I've been attending meetings for years and I'm very interested in the community. As long as I pay taxes here, I will be involved in the community one way or the other. Thank you. Oh, former township supervisor and former township trustee, former township planning commission liaison. I am very familiar with the ordinances, the way things should be done, so thank you.
Ken DeCook.
My wife Rose and I have been a resident since 2000. I got a farm operation in Macomb Township on 23 Mile Road. And in my resume, I mentioned back then when Dad wanted to start retailing out front, the farm market, and deal with the township to form a farm market ordinance down there. And there's where I got my first taste of how politics and procedure-wise and things go. When we moved up here, I was fortunate enough to be appointed to the planning commission, and Harold Ward told me afterwards he's glad I got on, because he wanted to get off, but he wanted somebody there to represent the ag interests of Armada Township. And I felt I've done that pretty good for the years I was on the planning commission. And I see there's no ag interests or ag experience here on the board to express the views and issues that come up in that. And being it's an open spot, I thought, well, I'll throw my hat in like everybody else. Answer any questions you have. I'm very passionate about farming, but I'm also passionate about big word, the behavior part or the business of the farming, to show the integrity, is that word I was looking for. Just like any other business and occupation, you got those who are true blue, and you got those who try to hide behind it to pull tricks and things. I want the integrity. My grandpa came over from Belgium and started farming. My dad continued, so am I. And proud of the business we built up and the name of the quality and products. And I've been involved in Macomb County Farm Bureau, Michigan Farm Bureau, and even some few stints on the state level. I'm currently on the Egg Preservation Fund Board. So if you'd be happy to answer any questions you might have. And thank you for considering me and your time.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Ken.
Ken.
And Sam Lentine.
I'm Sam Lentini. I live at 75509 North Avenue. The supervisor, Patterack, alluded to a couple of times. I work for the state police. I've been a trooper for just about 21 years now. Public service has pretty much been my life. I've been living here in Armada for about 2 years now, but I've worked here in this area, northern Macomb area, for the past 7 years, so I'm very familiar with what goes on here. A few of the items that came up tonight were public safety issues. Those are kind of my specialty, and things I don't know. I have a lot of access to resources to be able to solve those problems. As a matter of fact, I'd like to get before the meetings, so that I can maybe take care of you guys, help you out a little bit. I was pretty excited that an opening came up. I've always had a desire to serve in politics. I'm very good with communicating with people, solving issues. I've worked with a diverse group of people throughout the community. I've lived in Macomb County pretty much my whole life, so I'm just excited to get this opportunity to possibly sit on your board.
Yeah, it's exciting you have the law enforcement background too, because it's just it's a minefield out there when you try to deal with folks that have different things going on. It's not an easy field to do.
I've got a whole list of resources that I can use for things like that.
So working out here in this area for 7 or so years, is that what prompted you to
Move
move
Armada?
this area?
Yes, yeah, I grew up in Roseville, and I've worked in Wayne County, Macomb County, Oakland, Genesee, Lapeer, and St. Clair, and this is where I always ended up coming back to, just because I love the area.
Okay, thank you.
It's great.
Thank you.
No, so thank you.
So I'll go first. I'll make a motion to appoint Gail Hicks as trustee for partial term ending November 20th, 22, effective July 19th, which is next Monday at noon.
Is there support? Okay.
I mean, should we have any, is there any value in any discussion before we make a motion? I mean, to me, it's kind of hard to make a decision with this limited information. Certainly, we have 3 candidates that have experience at the township level and a couple that are new, and, you know, everyone's certainly qualified and brings something different to the table, so it is tough to, you know, what's important to me is that we get somebody who is able to make up their own mind, you know, and be consistent and honest and what they do.
What we're
so.
doing, you know.
That's,
and,
yeah,
you know,
I think we've heard from everyone. I think we
Yeah,
all
and
kind of have
I
what.
think we have a lot of good candidates. I think
Mhm.
no matter who we choose, I think we'll end up with
Um,
somebody good.
All right, I'll make a motion to appoint Jason Grimby as trustee for partial term ending November 20th, 22, effective July 19th at noon.
Support.
Swayak, yes. Getzinger?
Yes.
Murray?
Yes.
Eric?
Yes.
Welcome, Jason.
No, and I'll just be honest, upfront, Jason, your background in the technology is, it's a game changer. We're getting into new fields here. There's lots of different pressures and lots of different things we need to be able to ask those questions and good guidance from somebody that's familiar with the security of our township record.
I appreciate that.
Thank you. Trustee Getzinger?
I do want to thank everybody who applied, you know, for the trustee position. I kind of reiterate, I think everybody had their strengths. I do know from some experience at the board that I could tell I didn't want to make a motion because quite honestly, there wasn't be support for some candidates. But I'm excited to have a full board and work with Jason. As far as the discussion we had on the marijuana ordinances, that's certainly, I agree with the residents' concerns, and I'm going to work to pursue options that we have there to make it easier for us as a township to potentially enforce, and just to keep Armada the place that I believe it should be, and that the reason I live here is for a safe residential community. So,
Thank you, Tim. Treasurer Murray?
I also agree. I think we should look into that, because it is a concern, and I know people in other townships that have people using their homes as grow facilities, and I know what she's gone through, and she hasn't said anything about people driving through the neighborhood at all hours, so, but that is definitely a concern, especially with kids. But, moving on from that, I did want to say that in my past, years ago, I was elected and served 2 terms on the Romeo School Board. It was an unpaid position, and I knew it was unpaid, and I wasn't serving to get a paycheck. I served my community and to do my best for the students of the district. If you fast forward to 2020, when I ran for Armada Township trustee, I didn't know it was a paid position. Again, I wasn't running to get a paycheck anyway. I ran to serve the community that we call home now. Then I discovered that it was a paid position, and at that time, I made the decision to donate my net earnings as a trustee back to the community. As my term as trustee was somewhat short-lived, I have received a little over $2,000 in net pay from the township. I did use some of the earnings to purchase books from the MTA to help me in my role as a township trustee, which I did look through a little bit, but not in a short amount of time. But the balance left me with $2,000. So I thought about different organizations that directly impact Armada. Since education of students is one of the things that's very near and dear to my heart, I knew that the Armada Education Association was going to be one of the organizations that I wanted to help. Health and safety is also very near and dear to me, as I would hope it would be to everyone. I know that our firefighters give scholarships to Armada students. I know they're having a golf outing the end of August, and I'm a whole sponsor for that as well. But they are also one of the organizations that I wanted to help because they do so much for the community with the scholarships to kids and also helping out community members that need some assistance in one way, shape, or form. So both of these organizations directly impact Armada residents. It doesn't go outside of the community. So this morning, on my way in here, I dropped off a check to the Armada Education Foundation for $1,000. And then I stopped at the fire station and dropped off another check for $1,000 to the Firefighters Foundation. So the money that the township gave me as a trustee is back in the township.
That's awesome. Clerk
I
Swag?
can't top any of that.
No, I can. I need to thank Sarah. Truly, you know, she's pretty much retired, and she had plans
She was.
on rolling back a little bit. And when we got into the situation we got into, Sarah Marie stepped up hugely and handled the treasurer's department with support from Mary, the clerk, and got the tax bills out and came up to speed just exactly like we hoped it would, which is why we made the decision to appoint her, because we didn't have time to go through a process and back and forth. Sarah, I want to thank you for stepping in and doing the right thing for the township and putting your own personal desires, retirement aside to do the right thing. I can't thank you enough for that. That needs to be said.
You're
So,
welcome.
and after saying that, I guess I'd like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:19.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.